Welcome to another tutorial on the Next SciPaper channel. In this sixth part, I want to talk to you a little bit about references and citations. References and citations make up the section that, if you open any article or book, you will see at the very end. It is a list of titles and authors, and this final section is typically headed as references. In this section, we want to get familiar with terms like citation, H-index, and impact factor. These are the metrics used to evaluate an article, a researcher, or a scientific journal. To help you understand this better, I have pulled up a sample article here to show you. If you have looked closely at the text of a research paper, you will notice that some of the statements have a number or name in brackets at the end of the sentence. This marking indicates that the material preceding this number or author name does not belong to the author of this paper, it comes from another source. Every author is obligated, if they write something that is not their own original work, to indicate with a symbol that this content is not theirs, and to formally cite the person they took it from in the references section. For example, in this very paper, at the end of this statement, you can see the numbers 3 and 5. This means that in the references section of the paper, numbers 3 and 5 represent the exact sources I just referred to above. Now, if I copy this reference number 3 and search for it in the Chrome browser, the very first result that comes up will be the exact scientific document or article that the author cited. By opening it, we reach the original scientific document or paper that was quoted. I have brought the titles of these articles and materials here for you. In this example, the author of the first paper used a portion of the material from the second paper in their own work. In other words, they either copied a phrase word for word into their paper, or they borrowed a core idea and concept from it. It makes no difference whether the author copies the exact phrasing or grasps the concept and wants to use that concept in their own article. In both cases, they must absolutely cite that individual and declare that this material is not theirs. As mentioned, this is either a direct quotation or a paraphrase, but in either case, it is considered a citation. Now, suppose an article is cited by another person. In that case, we say this article has received one citation. If we enter the Google Scholar environment, and as we learned in previous sessions, if you add the word scholar to the end of an author's name in a search engine, it takes us directly to that author's personal profile page. We can examine their data. So, we do exactly that and search for the author's name along with the phrase Google Scholar. The first option displayed will be that individual's Google Scholar profile. Of course, if someone does not have a Google Scholar profile, they might be active on other networks like ResearchGate, which we will discuss later on. You can see that one of the authors of the very paper we were talking about has a profile on Google Scholar. If we look at their page, on the right side, there is a graph and a section called Citations. Citations show how much this person's articles have been quoted and how many researchers have used their material in their own papers and references. As you can see, this individual's articles have been cited more than 9,000 times. Therefore, citations are one of the main metrics for validating a researcher, and even a specific paper. In Google Scholar, the list of this individual's articles can be sorted in two ways, either by the year of publication, in which case the articles are arranged from newest to oldest, or by the number of citations. If I select the citation option, the articles that have received the most citations will appear at the very top, and they will be listed downward in descending order. For instance, an article they wrote in 2014 has been used and cited more than 400 times by other people. If we add up the total citations of all the articles by this individual, we get their final citation count, which is displayed right here in this section, and this represents massive scientific credibility for this researcher. In addition, a Google Scholar profile usually includes a section that shows the individual's field of work and scientific expertise in the form of a few keywords, such as the phrase healthcare, which is this author's specialty. If I click on this keyword, a list of experts in this field who are active in this domain will be displayed for me. This list is ranked based on the citation metric, from the top cited individuals in the world down to mid-tier and lower ranked researchers. You can see that the most authoritative person in this field is someone whose total citations across all articles exceed 400,000. If I click on their profile, their information opens up. In this specific sample, 4 of their scientific specialties are listed as healthcare, research, space, and English literature. In this section, the citation count, the H-index, and the I-10 index are displayed, which I will explain right now. If I click on this graph, it shows the individual's citations broken down by each year, and by hovering the mouse pointer over each column, the exact number for that year is revealed. If you click on the graph, the number stays fixed so you can easily compare it with other years. A bit further down, there is a section called Public Access on many profiles. This section shows how many open access articles this individual has published in open journals, meaning they are freely accessible, and how many inaccessible or paid articles they have published in closed, subscription-based journals. Now, let us talk a bit more about the H-index metric. Suppose I have hypothetically published 6 articles. Article number 1 has received 7 citations. Article number 2 has received 5 citations. Article number 3 has received 3 citations. Article number 4 has received 9 citations. Article number 5 has received 5 citations. And article number 6 has received 4 citations. I have 6 articles, each of which has been cited a specific number of times by other authors. The concept of the H-index tells us, how many articles does a researcher have? Let us call this number H, where each of those H articles has received at least H citations. To put it more simply, the number of papers and the number of citations must align and match up. If we start from the last article, number 6, and work our way up, do I have 6 articles that have each been cited at least 6 times? No, because we have articles with 4, 5, 3, and 5 citations, which are less than 6. Do I have 5 articles that have each been cited at least 5 times? No, because article number 6 and article number 3 have fewer than 5 citations, meaning the total number of articles with 5 or more citations does not reach 5. Now, let us go lower. Do I have 4 articles that have each been cited and referenced at least 4 times? Yes, articles 1, 2, 4, and 5 have 5, 9, or 7 citations, which are all greater than 4, and even article number 6 itself has 4 citations. Therefore, I have at least 4 articles that have been cited 4 times or more. Consequently, my H-index will be the number 4. If we look at this on the professor's actual profile picture, you can see that this author has an H-index of 259. This means they have 259 articles, and every single one of those articles has received at least 259 citations. The next metric is called the I-10 index. This metric is similar to the H-index, but it specifically counts how many articles a person has that have received at least 10 citations. In this case, out of all their papers, this author has 1,225 articles that have been cited at least 10 times. Every scientific database or search engine can define a metric similar to the H-index for itself, and Google Scholar's specific proprietary metric is this I-10 index. Also, if you look at the second column of the chart, the data is analyzed based on the last 5 years. In the last 5 years, this individual's H-index was 117. This means that in this recent period, they had 117 articles that were cited at least 117 times. In the last 5 years alone, they have been cited more than 88,000 times and had 791 articles that received at least 10 citations during this time frame. Another metric that exists is the impact factor. Impact factor has a structure similar to the H-index, with the key difference being that the H-index is generally a validation metric for individuals and individual articles, whereas the impact factor is a metric used exclusively for evaluating and measuring the prestige of journals. This index also has a specific formula: the total number of citations received by the journal in the last 2 years, divided by the total number of articles published by that same journal within those same 2 years. For example, Imagine a journal that has published only 2 citable articles over the past 2 years. If these 2 articles receive a total of 40 citations in the current year, we divide the 40 citations by the 2 articles and obtain the value 20. This means the journal's impact factor is 20, a metric used to evaluate the scientific influence and authority of that journal. Let us look at this using a real-world journal. For example, consider the journal Cell, or the Cell Press family of journals. Cell is a massive journal title with many specialized sub-journals. We will look at the journal Cancer Cell, which is one of its specialized branches that focuses on cancer cells, conducting research and publishing papers. If we look at the journal's informational section, the About page, there is an option called Impact Factor. The impact factor of this journal is 44, which is an incredible, exceptionally high number, showcasing its top-tier authority. This journal has other metrics as well. One of these metrics is the immediacy index. This index shows how quickly and effectively a journal can make my article accessible to other researchers so that it gets noticed and starts receiving citations. If I publish an article in a journal, this index measures how fast the journal can put it in front of the eyes of different individuals and other journals so that it gets read and cited sooner. This metric is even used in news media, showing how fast a news outlet receives, publishes, and broadcasts content. It is a highly important metric that we will discuss in more depth as we move into more advanced topics. In future sessions, we will also discuss site score and other metrics. The material for this session ends right here. Our goal in this section was to get familiar with concepts such as citations, impact factor, and the H-index. These terms are the core tools for validating journals, papers, and scientific literature, and we will be using them over and over again in the future to gauge the credibility of a journal, a professor, or a research paper. Therefore, this session was incredibly important, and I highly recommend that you commit these concepts to memory, because we will encounter them constantly throughout our research journey. Regarding the citations and references section, we actually need to create a completely separate playlist, because the topic of referencing is vast. It involves reference management software like Mendeley, or EndNote, and there are many different citation styles that must be thoroughly covered. In the next session, we want to talk a little bit about citation databases and get an introduction to that topic. I hope that up to this point, the content has been informative and helpful for you. If you enjoy our videos, please give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment for us. Good luck, and see you next time.